Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how you can access the File Explorer through Unity and access files from there, be it PNG files, JPEG files, .exe files, or any file that you really want from your PC or device. So with that being said, if you do enjoy this video, please consider smashing that subscribe button and also turn on your notifications. So this is what the application is going to look like. It's a basic scene with a raw image on the left and a button that says open file explorer on your right. So when I click this button, it's going to open my file explorer. I'm gonna now have access to all of my files. So for now I just have access to my PNG files and my JPEG files. So if I just choose one of these, I can just choose this quickly, and there you see it. It displays the picture nicely on your left, and then you can do whatever you want with this picture. You can save it to a database, you can use it in your game, or whatever you need to do. So with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is head over to Unity, create a new project. I'm going to create a 2D project and I'm going to name it File Explorer. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit create. Okay, and there you see nicely we have a 2D scene set up already. So we're just gonna go quickly into our game scene. We're gonna check, okay, it's 16 by 9, that's fine. The first thing we want to do is right click in our hierarchy. This scene is not going to require much elements or a lot of elements. It's just gonna be a basic scene. It's just to show you the functionality, and you can use this as you please in your game or in your applications. It's just to show you how it's done. So we're going to right click in your hierarchy, we're going to go all the way down to UI, and we're going to create a canvas. The next thing we're going to do is add an image as a background, because it just makes everything look a little bit better, so we can distinguish from our button and our images that we're going to display. So we'll right click on the canvas, we're going to go down to UI, and we're going to select image. Then what we're going to do is, if you just zoom out a bit, you see the image is right there in the center. We're going to head over to our inspector and click in the rect transform. We're going to hold down shift and alt and click the right bottom icon. That's going to stretch it nicely across the entire screen. What we want to do next is rename this to background image. And while we're there, let's just change the color. So you can pick whatever color you like. I'm just going to go with something like an orange. Okay, I like this color more. What we want to do next is we need a raw image, and the reason we use a raw image is because we are going to apply a texture to this image. Okay, and it's not just going to be a regular image, we need to create a raw image. So this is the regular Unity image, we don't need that, we want the next one, which is the raw image. Okay, so then we go in to select our multi-tool on the top left in our toolbar, and we're going to move it to our left hand side just so that we can have it nicely separated. Then we're going to just scale it up a bit and position it a little bit more to your right. Okay, that looks fine there. The next thing what we need is a button, so that when we click this button, it actually opens up our file explorer. Okay, so let's do that quickly. We'll right click on canvas, go down to UI, and select text mesh pro button. We'll import. You can close that once that's done. Let's just move this to the side and maybe expand this button a bit, and let's go down and rename this button to open file explorer button. And let's just also rename our raw image to display raw image. Okay, cool. So let's just expand this and change the text component to open file explorer, and let's just bring that font size down so that it fits nicely in that button. And then maybe you can select the button and scale it up if you want. Okay, that looks fine. So that takes care of our UI. Now let's create the script to actually do the functionality that we need. So we're going to right click in our assets, go to create C# script. We're going to name it file manager, and we're going to double click to open it up. Mine's going to open up in Visual Studio, yours might open up in MonoDevelop. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get rid of this update and start method because we don't need it at the moment, and we're just going to make some space there. Okay, so this is how we actually going to create this. We first need to create a path that will return all of the files that we want to get, or all of the files that we want the File Explorer to show us. We need to create a path for it. So how we do that is we're going to first create a string, and we're going to name it path. Okay, then we're going to create a public function so that we can trigger this when our button is clicked, and we're going to call it open File Explorer. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to set this path equal to, so you don't need to know about I think for now how or in detail how everything works. I'll leave links in the description below, but I'll try my best to explain it as I'm going along. So what we want to do is we want to grab hold of the editor utility. Okay, so we'll say editor utility, and it's going to give us a squiggly line because we need to include a library. So we can say control dot, and it tells us there we need to include using Unity editor. We can just select that, it will add that for us, and I think we need one more. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we need the function which is called open file panel, which is going to return all of these files that we want back to us so that we can see it. So we can just type in that function open file panel, open brackets, close brackets. So if we hover over this function, you see that it takes in 3 parameters. The first one is a title, string title, the next one is a directory, and the last one is the extension. So this is what we want to target. Okay, good. So now that we know what parameters this function takes in, let's start to define them or populate them. Okay, so the first thing is a string title. Now this is a title that's going to be on top of your File Explorer when the window opens up. So we could just say something like show all images, and then here we can put .png, close that off. Okay, and then we need a comma. The next parameter it takes in is a directory. Now we don't want to actually define a directory because we want to return all the files with an extension, which we're going to do in the next parameter. So what we'll do here is we'll just put an empty string and a comma. So now we're down to the last parameter, which is the string extension. So this is going to be your actual type that you want to get from your machine or from your computer or from your application or whatever the case is. So just say I want PNG files. Okay, so I can just put PNG and I'll close that off. Now if you wanted JPEG files, all you have to do is just change this to JPEG. If you wanted exe files, all you have to do is change that to exe. If you wanted a Word document, all you have to do is change this to a docx document or whatever the case is. Okay, so for now I want a PNG, I want all PNG files. Okay, now we need a function to get this PNG file from the File Explorer and display it onto our raw image in Unity. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called a coroutine, okay, and IE enumerators. So I will leave a link in the description below to my tutorial where I explain more about IE enumerators and start coroutines and why we use them, etc. So for now, just follow along. So when creating a IE enumerator, all we have to just define is IE numerator and then your function name. I'm going to call this get texture, open close as normal. Okay, cool. Now one thing that this function needs, okay, that's why it gives us a squiggly line, because it needs to return something. Okay, so how it works is when we use our enumerator, we need to say yield return, and then we need to return something. Okay, so before that, before we even return something, right, generally what happens is we could say yield return new wait for seconds, and if we just put in a 5 there, okay, what this would do is it would wait 5 seconds before executing any code below this. Okay, so if you have a string here just to output maybe hello world, when this function is called, it will wait 5 seconds, then display that string. Okay, just to give you a quick understanding of how this function works. So what we need to do first is we need to create a web request. So we're going to be using a little bit of Unity's networking system. Okay, so we need to create a web request, and how we do that is we need to define Unity web request. Okay, it's going to give us a squiggly because we need to add in a library. We're going to just click on the squiggly, control dot, and we'll just click using Unity engine.networking. Okay, that should go away, and then we can just call www, and we're going to set this to Unity web request texture because we want to get this texture. Okay, and we're going to get the texture, right? So this function takes in a string URL. Okay, so the same way that you'll have a URL if you were navigating through your C drive, you'll have C drive / your folder name / another folder name, maybe / another folder name, and then you'll have your file name. So similarly, what we're going to do is we're going to define file : 3// and then we're going to add in here, we're going to do a concatenation, and we're going to pass in our path that we already defined on top. Okay, so we'll just do that quickly. Okay, so what this does is it's going to return, or it's going to add in this path to this file so that it can return all of the PNG files to us in the File Explorer and show it to us so that we can select something from the File Explorer. Okay, now we need to say we only want to move further in our application once the connection has been made from our application to our machine or to the local host. Okay, so what we can say is yield return www.sendWebRequest, and we can close that off. So what this does is it's going to say, okay, you created your path on top here, you created the connection string, and now you're saying, okay, you want to wait until there is a connection from your application to your machine, and then you want to execute code below. So let's see what we want to do below. We're going to say, first we're going to do a check. Okay, we're going to say if this web request is network error, or because obviously it's using a HTTP request. Okay, it's a protocol. HTTP is a protocol. There's different types of protocols. There's TCP/IP, there's UDP, but Unity engine is using the HTTP request or protocol. So we're going to just check if this has an error as well, and then we're just going to do a quick debug just for our sake so we can see if our application breaks anywhere, and we'll just call www.error. Okay, that should take care of that. Then if there is a connection, what we want to do, we want to get that file and we want to set a texture to our, we want to set that texture to our raw image. So what we can do now is we need to create a public raw image, and the reason it gives us a squiggly because we need to add in a library, and that is using Unity Engine.ui. Okay, that should go away now. Okay, so what we're saying now, when there is a connection, what we want to do, we want to create a texture and we'll call it my texture. We want to set this texture to the one that we just downloaded from this network. Okay, remember the web request that we sent through, we got a texture, we got a PNG file. Now we want to set this new texture variable that we created, we want to set the one that we got to equal to this because we want to use it later on. So what we can say is download handler texture www.download handler. So this is basically doing some sort of cast. We're casting this to a download handler texture, and then we close it off, and then we just want to get the texture value or the texture component of it, similar to how we would get a text component from a TextMesh Pro. This is how we would get the texture from this file. Okay, so we can close it off. Okay, so now that we have this texture in our texture variable that we created, now we can use it. So now we can say this raw image that we created on top here where we want to display it, we can say raw image dot texture because we want to access that texture component. Remember, you can only set something to a value that it's known to. So you can't set a image to a texture. Unity wouldn't like that. You need to set a texture to a texture, if that makes any sense. And we'll just set that equal to my texture. Okay, and that's it for all of our code. It was short, but I tried my best to explain it to you. It may not be the best of explanations, but I am going to leave links below where you can read up more and get more information about this. Okay, so we're gonna head over to Unity to hook everything up quickly. So the first thing we want to do is right click in our hierarchy, create an empty game object. We'll go and reset its transform to 0. We'll rename this to file manager. We'll drag our script onto that game object, and now you can see it takes in a raw image. So what we can do is drag our raw image in there, and we can click on our button, go all the way down to an on-click event, add an on-click event, drag our file manager in there because that holds our script. Look for our script, which is called file manager, and then we want a function. Now there's one thing that we forgot to do. Okay, we forgot to actually call this function. So as you can see here, it's actually like in a dull color. I don't know if you can see that on your side because we are not using this function. Okay, so what we want to do is, so how we call functions when we're using IEnumerator is we use the keyword start coroutine and we pass in the function name in the brackets. So we do that and we close it off. So now what would happen is we'll create our path, we'll call our get texture function, it will go in here, it will send the Unity web request, it will wait for a connection. If there is no connection, it will return an error or throw an error to the console. If there is a connection, it will set that value that we selected or the file that we selected to our texture variable, and the next thing it's going to do is display that texture variable to our raw image in Unity. So let's go quickly to our button. Now we can find our function, which is called Open File Explorer. Just click Ctrl S to save everything, and let's run this and see what happens. Okay, great. So when we click File Explorer, we are expecting something to open. Awesome, it opened up our File Explorer nicely, and here you can see the text that we filled in our Open File Panel function. The first parameter we said show all images, and then in brackets we said .png, and here you can see it's all .png files. Okay, So we can just select one quickly, and here you can see it displays nicely. And that's it guys for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please smash that subscribe button and also like and comment on the video below. Also, if you find a better way for doing this, please do comment below, because I'm always willing to learn new things and learning better ways to do stuff. So with that being said, have a good one. Cheers and goodbye.